How are you? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my February reading wrap up. I read 11 books in February and 2,917 pages. My average rating was 4.0. I'm going to show you a little bit of my reading journal. I didn't do that last month, but just show you little glimpses. A little sparkly. This is my TBR page. I don't know if you can see this, but this says, "Get in, loser, we're going slashing." This has, I did 2 readathons. This one was the randomathon hosted by the Brightside Girl. It was circus and carnival themed. So it has all the prompts. There's like 3 pages, two different pages. So it was 2 weeks. And then this one was hosted by Coral over at Pretty and Paper Cuts. It was My Bloody Valentine themed. There's like a hidden knife under there, but this has the prompts, and then, you know, all my ratings. They're like little weapons throughout the thing. Another little weapon. They're all glittery. And this is my wrap-up page. You got Tiffany here. This says horror movies and chill. And then you got my mood chart. And then I've been doing like a quotes page on the back. Some of my favorite quotes from the books. I really love doing this, so where I can get a glimpse of my favorites for the month. Before I get into the books, I actually won a giveaway. Like I said, the Brightside Girl hosted a randomathon, and she had a giveaway anytime you did a prompt or posted a picture from one of the prompts or one of the photo challenges or whatever, then you got entered into the drawing, and I actually won the giveaway. I got to pick what books I won. She had a selection and I got to pick which ones. So I knew which books I was getting, but I had no idea the other stuff, and I was blown away. I was really surprised. I'll start with the books. The Undertow by Michael Buckley. The Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody. Where Dreams Descend by Janilla Angeles. And now we have all the stuff. And she packed this really well. This is glass and it made it. It's like a gumball machine, and it was full of, these are the frosted animal crackers. And then it was also had some wrapped up, I'll get to it in a minute, but like a bracelet and earrings. A box of animal crackers. A scented Dippin' Dots multicolored pen. Reading journal. It's a sour lollipop. This is a balloon dog fidget toy. Look how cute that is. That's gonna go on my desk. The popcorn maker has instructions. Circus peanuts. A velvet pouch, like a velvety, and it's full. She actually made these really cool bookmarks, and they're all themed. Like, I love these sparkly ones. She's actually sent me bookmarks before, I believe, like for Halloween. I think we exchanged like Halloween cards, and I always love her bookmarks. There's like 6 of them. They're all really sparkly and pretty. I'll show you this one. I love this clown one. I think this one's my favorite. Look at the clowns. And then she made this, and it's got like an elephant, and it's got like a circus tent on it. I'm showing you the best I can. Yeah, it's really cute. And then there are these really cute circus tent earrings. Reading light. And we have, this is the card that came with it. I won't show you the inside because to me those are kind of personal. And it came with these 2 straws. They have like pink and purple like hearts and bows on them. Enamel pen. Really cool giveaway. So thank you again to the Brightside Girl for that. Now we will get into the books. I'll start with the books that I read for the randomathon. Randomathon was again circus and carnival themed. First book I read was The Pilo Family Circus by Will Elliott. This probably wouldn't be for everybody, but if you love comedy horror and weird horror, and especially featuring creepy clowns, then you would probably like this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Main character is Jamie. Jamie is just an average dude, and he isn't somebody that speaks up very often. If he was to get pushed around or whatever, he probably wouldn't speak up. And one day he is out kind of late and his car breaks down, and he gets out of his car and he witnesses these creepy clowns, and they're in full clown costume, paint, big old shoes and all. And one of the clowns throws out this bag of substance, and why he thinks it's a good idea to grab this substance and take it home, I have no idea. But the clowns, track him down and they start messing with him. He has roommates and they completely trash his house, and they start leaving these ominous notes like, you have this many hours. I think it was like 36 hours or something. You have this many hours to make us laugh. This is your audition. You have this many hours to make us laugh. And then if you make us laugh, you are joining our circus. If you don't make us laugh, we're going to kill you. These clowns are no joke. They're funny, but then they're also really creepy. He ends up joining the circus, and when he puts on this clown makeup, he develops this alter ego. So it's sort of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation, which is what drew me to this book. I've mentioned before that I love Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This book was freaking wild. It was insane. I will admit, like, the beginning when the clowns were sneaking around and sneaking into his house and being all creepy and weird and leaving ominous notes, that was more creepy to me than the circus. I would love to read a whole book on them just being freaking creepy, because they had this flair about it too. That was the funny part, was they would completely trash his room. I mean, trash it, set shit on fire, and leave dead bats and shit, but then also leave him a Valentine card and flowers. It was really weird. Those parts of it were, to me, more creepy. The circus was more weird. There was definitely violence at the circus, and the circus was imaginative and also hilarious. There were hilarious parts of the circus, weird parts. There were horrific, gory parts of the circus. There was all of that. And yeah, there were creep factors too. It was all about his alter ego and his 2 different personalities, with the makeup and without the makeup. That's what it was really about. I won't give anything away, but I do have thoughts on it if anybody ever wants to talk about it. I really liked it. Slasher Witch at the Waterpark by Penny Moons. This water park was built on what used to be a bog, and opening day at the water park, this dude Mason gets drunk. He wanders off from his friends. I guess the porta potties are full or whatever, so he's peeing and he accidentally pees on this bog witch's head. She's got her head peeking up from the swamp, and he pees on her head, and she gets really pissed, pun intended, and yeah, just gets out of the bog and wreaks all this havoc and goes on this huge killing spree. So not only is she going on this huge rampage, but she also causes all this other, like, the water park itself comes to life and goes on its own little killing spree. There's giant pirate frogs and all this stuff. It's bonkers. Doesn't take itself too seriously, you know that going into it, but it's a lot of fun. I really had a good time reading it. Zelda is the bog witch, and she's hilarious. She's the villain, but she's kind of a fun villain, and she kind of has this sort of innocence about her. It was her bog first. She didn't ask for the water park to be built on top of it, and she's just having a great time because she has never experienced a water park. And while all this chaos is ensuing and these giant pirate frogs and all this stuff are offing people left and right, and the water park itself is offing people left and right, she's discovering frozen lemonade and frozen margaritas and just having the best time of her life. You can't help but kind of love Zelda. You don't get too attached to any of the characters, which is good because, a lot of them don't make it. It jumps around to different characters throughout the park. The ending was my favorite part. I won't give anything away, but the ending was really good. It was bonkers. It wasn't believable, but it was really fun and a really good ending, and I enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was just a really good time. Fantasticland by Mike Bakoven. Reading the synopsis, when I first read this, I was trying to figure out how the world things got so bad. How could this have gone so terribly wrong? And also, the whole book is in interview form, which is another thing. I thought, okay, am I going to like this? Am I not going to like this? I really wasn't sure. It's a theme park that is in Florida. They have disaster plans in place. This hurricane comes through. This is a part of Florida that hurricanes typically don't hit. But in the event that it happened, or in the event of any disaster, they have 300 and something employees that have volunteered that they would stay over, they would stay at the park, and they would protect the park, or they would stay over and watch over the park. But they have plenty of food, they have shelter, they have first aid, they have everything available to them to stay in the park for weeks if necessary. They've thought of everything. Most of the employees at the park are kids. I say kids, they're 25 and under. So not really kids, but most of these people have been living with their parents. They haven't had to make decisions on their own. You know, they've been very reliant on social media, and they just haven't really been on their own ever. In this case, they are kids. Most of them. Some of them, there are a few of these younger people that have been on their own and have had to live on their own and make decisions, but most of them have not. That's why I call them kids. Hurricane blows through. All these people are staying, they're started out sheltered in place. The supervisors, who are older people, they see the writing on the wall and they're like, this is about to get bad. They see it pretty quickly. They abandon these kids. Things go awry very, very quickly, and these kids form tribes. They naturally go to the parts of the park where they normally work, and it kind of becomes this, okay, this is our food, these are our resources, nobody's gonna get our stuff, this is our domain, not theirs. And they become very protective of it. Now, had they just pulled their resources and worked together, they probably would have all survived. But no, they got all territorial, and they were scared, they felt trapped, they didn't have social media, they didn't have supervision. Suddenly they were left to their own devices, and they just panicked, and it was a really bad combination. So things got very violent and very quickly. This was absolutely horrific. And another thing, the National Guard and all of them, they didn't have Fantasticland high on their priority list, because everybody was thinking this place is so well prepared that they're going to be fine. They had no idea that all this violence was happening and all these terrible things were happening. While all these kids were offing each other in really horrific ways, nobody had a freaking clue until they got there and were like, holy shit. And they see heads on stakes and really terrible things. Then they realized that things had taken a really bad turn. If you don't mind gore and violence and you love horror, you would probably love this. 5 stars, easy. It was so good. Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I read The Night Circus a few years ago. It was 5 stars. Loved it. And I really thought this was going to be kind of on the same level, because it does have that magical element, and I thought it was going to have the same sort of world and the same sort of world building, because I've heard the two of them kind of compared. I do not agree. This one I ended up giving 3 stars to. Scarlett and Tella have always wanted to go to Caraval since they were little kids. They've been sheltered. Their dad is a villain. He's abusive. He's an abusive jerk, and would not allow them to leave even their city or their village or whatever the hell it's called. Well, now they've been given the opportunity, not the way they expected, but they've been given the opportunity to go to Caraval. But there's a twist. Tella has been kidnapped by the creator of the game. Everybody that's there and participating in the game is trying to search for clues to find Tella to win the game and get the grand prize. And the grand prize is a wish. Scarlet doesn't care about the wish. She just wants to save her sister because Scarlet is super protective of her sister and always has been. The magic element is there. I do like that. And I like that it's a game. I like that they're finding clues, the mystery aspect of it. What I don't like is, and this might just be me, and this might just be because I'm not a romance girly, but you're trying to find your sister. It feels kind of like a life and death situation because there's other factors going on that you're fearing for your life and your sister's life. How do you have time for romance? I don't understand that, first of all. Felt like the world building could use a little bit more. And then also another issue I had is that they have all night. I think there were like 5 nights, I want to say 4 or 5 nights. That's it for the whole game. That's all the time they have. They have all night those nights. During the day, they have to be wherever they're going. But they have all night, each night, to find the clues, as many clues as they can, and figure things out. But I would feel like they'd have all night and barely anything would happen. I'm like, what are you doing with your time? That was another thing. I would be so aggravated because I felt like nothing was happening. That was my hang up. Otherwise, I mean, the magic aspect was there, and I feel like some of that was really cool and the mysterious aspect of it, but I wanted more from it. Next, I'm going to tell you the books that I read for my Bloody Valentine Readathon, which was hosted by Pretty and Paper Cuts, the Saturday Night Ghost Club. This was not, I don't think this could have been classified as horror, and there weren't really ghosts in it. It was this kid, Jake. He has this quirky uncle, Uncle C is what everybody calls him. He has this store called the Occultorium, where he sells, things of the occult. And Uncle C is very quirky and eccentric. And I love Uncle C. He's just, he's a fun guy. This was like a coming of age. I would say it has the same vibes as Stand By Me. I haven't read the book, but I've seen the movie. Stand By Me has that more emotional side. But then sometimes it has the excitement of, say, Sandlot. Not the sports, but the excitement side of it. So I would say it has those two vibes, kind of. I would say it's more of an emotional story. There aren't really ghosts. There are more ghost stories. They are going to these sites where deaths have happened, and Uncle C is explaining to them what happened, and he's telling these stories, but there aren't really ghosts there, per se. It's more like he's just telling the stories of what happened. But I loved the characters, absolutely loved the characters. I think Uncle C was really fun. He was a really fun character, but Dove, one of the kids, she was really fun. She was very cool, and I just loved her whole vibe. And I know Jake loved her. He was absolutely mesmerized by her. Their whole dynamic was special. And I loved all of their adventures that they got into, like all the kids together. It was fun, but then it was also emotional at times, and it was heavy sometimes, but not too heavy. I really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star. Hot Pink Satanism by Damian Casey and Cara Artores. I don't even know how to explain this book. Satan is retired. Now Baphomet, which is another demon, is in charge of hell. And now it's all colorful. There's unicorns and these fluffy characters and their chocolate pudding. It was random, but it worked. There's all these cute cuddly characters, but they're somehow really freaking violent at the same time. And Baphomet is this cute little pink fluffy guy here. There's also a rock and roll hamster. This book was freaking nuts. They're trying to stop the unicorns from taking over. There's also a freaking fashion show. It's full of confetti unicorn guts. I can't even explain the randomness. There's pop references and the Meghan Trainor references really cracked me up. I don't know how something can be so colorful and cute and fluffy, but then also so violent at the same time. This ended up being a 5-star for me. I really enjoyed it. This was just the best time ever. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a Carrie retelling. Maddie has always been bullied at this school. It's a very small town, a very racist small town. They still have segregated proms. She's biracial, but no one has ever known that. Her dad is racist himself, and her dad is also misogynistic. He's a misogynistic, racist jackass. He claims he's protecting her, but no, I don't feel like he's protecting her. I feel like he's just racist and misogynistic. But anyways, he's always said, you can't let anybody know that you're biracial. You can't let anybody know. They need to think you're white. Don't ever let your hair get wet. She checks the weather every single morning, multiple times every morning, to make sure it's not going to rain. One day, the weather is wrong. She goes to school and she is having to run outside for PE, and she looks up, she's like, oh no, it looks like it's going to rain. And sure enough, it rains and her hair gets wet. Sure enough, everybody starts making fun of her for it. Somebody in her class takes video of them making fun of her, and it goes viral. It gets nationwide attention on the news. Now the kids at school are having to, this one girl especially is trying to do damage control. Now for once they're putting prom together. Instead of having separate proms, they're going to do the prom all together. And you know right away, because it tells you right away, that a bunch of kids die at prom. After a viral bullying video pulls back the curtain on Springville High's racist roots, student leaders come up with a plan to change their image, host the school's first integrated prom as a show of unity. The popular white class president convinces her black superstar quarterback boyfriend to ask Maddie to be his date, leaving Maddie wondering if it's possible to have a normal life. But some of her classmates aren't done with her just yet. And what they don't know is that Maddie still has another secret, one that will cost them all their lives. You know going into it that prom is not going to end well. This is a good for her horror at its finest. The ending was even better than I expected. I highly recommend. I think everybody should read this book, especially, if you love horror. But I loved it. There was so many different facets of this, like the whole the religion aspect of it, and then you have the racist aspect of it, and then you have the whole misogynistic aspect of it. So there were all this different commentary in there, and I think all of it was important, and all of it it's just really, really good. I loved it. 5 stars. So good. I did a buddy read, Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I read this with Christine over at Secrets Read and Kelly over at Kelly Hooked on Books. Kelly with Kelly Hooked on Books ended up DNFing this. I believe Secrets Read maybe gave this 3 stars, but I'm not 100% sure. You might want to see her video when it comes up to see what she gave it. If the video's not up already, I'm not sure. I gave this one 2 stars. Yeah. This was on my 24 and 2024, so I was really excited to read it. And the whole Jack the Ripper thing, and the whole reverse her stalking him thing, and her trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper is, that whole aspect of it, I was really excited about it. I loved that part of it, and I love the whole, it's supposed to be a feminist thing. But yeah, if you want to see her 5 million times say, I could do anything men can do. I hate the term show don't tell, but yeah, this needs to be more show don't tell. I don't know how many times she said it, and I realized it was the time, but then she was dependent on men for everything. So there was that, the love interest part of it, which again, is it really necessary? But luckily it wasn't too much. Luckily it was just a little flirting. It wasn't too much with the romance, which was fortunate. But he was not always believable. Nobody is that smooth. That, as far as them solving the case, I felt like it was a little too easy sometimes. How they came up to their conclusions, I felt like it needed a little bit more work. And I won't tell you what it is or anything, because then it's just going to give it away. But just out of the clear blue sky, they would just know what happened or what the motive was. Like, how do y'all know that? I don't understand that. And then the end was the thing that dropped it from a 3 to a 2. And trying to say it without giving spoilers, yeah, I can't say anything else about it, but just know that the end did not work at all for me. And that's all I'll say about it, is just it didn't make any freaking sense to me at all. Sorry, that's all I can really say about why it's a 2-star, because I don't want to fuck it up for y'all. This was my favorite read of the whole month, is the one I'm going to tell you now. Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. If you missed, I did a video of books featuring toxic relationships. This was on it. So if you missed that, I'll link it down below if you want to watch it. But I go into more detail on this one. This was definitely 5 stars. This lady, Ro, she's moved to a new town. It's like a fresh start because she's gone through a breakup. She's been straight her whole life, and she meets this girl, Ash, at a farmer's market, and suddenly is questioning everything. Now she's like, maybe I'm not straight because Ash is not only beautiful, but she's mysterious, and Ro is just completely mesmerized by her. She's fascinated. She wants to know as much as she can about her, and is just sort of swept away and just can't get enough. She's suddenly finding all these excuses to go to the farmer's market, and finding excuses to talk to her and ask questions. And Ash is making cupcakes and all these different flavors, and so Ro is going there to like try different cupcake flavors and all that. It's really gorgeous. It sort of has a way of drawing you in. There are all these red flags. You, as a reader, can see the red flags, and Rose should see the red flags, but she's just making excuses like, oh, this just must be how things are, or oh, this just must be how female relationships are, or whatever. And you also kind of see where it's heading. You have all these hints, but even though I could see it and I had the hints, I still was blown away, and I was still shocked, and it still surprised me. I love it so much, and I'm kind of obsessed with it, and I already want to read it again. I loved it so much. I'm not going to get too much more into it because I've already talked about it before, and I don't want to like just keep on and on about it, even though I could. Yeah, loved it. 5 stars. Highly recommend if you love horror. So good. Serial publication by Andrew Adams. This was sent to me by the author. Ended up being 4 stars. If you have seen The Blacklist, it's a show. This gave me the Blacklist vibes. The Blacklist vibes, but add in like reality TV element to it. This is based in the year 2031. People are a little bit more dependent on social media, and even more so obsessed with true crime and things like that. Erin is a crime scene detective, crime scene investigator, and she is called onto this pretty horrific crime scene, and it's a murder. So she's investigating this crime, and it also involves butterflies. I'm not giving anything away. It's known pretty early on, but there's a butterfly on the cover too. She's investigating this crime scene, and it's the next day or something, and she's like working from home, but she gets called in because there's a guy, Charles, that comes in and will only talk to her. She comes in and she's talking to him. There are cameras in the room where she's interviewing him. He confesses to the crime, and he's like, also there are others, but here's the deal. I will tell you these, but I'm only doing it if we can do a reality show, my own reality show, and I'm only doing it if you're the one interviewing me. Erin does not want to do this at all. She thinks it's ridiculous. She thinks it's glorifying his crime, and it's giving him too much attention, whatever, which it is, and it is ridiculous, but that's the only way that they're going to get to the bottom of what happened and all these other crimes, and give these families peace and find their loved ones. While they're interviewing him on the show, ends up leading them to brand new victims live on air. It was actually really fascinating, and I was drawn right in. I'm really surprised how much I liked it, because the sort of crime thing isn't something I always, it's one of those things I'm either really into or really not. It's just depends on the writing and how it's done, but this was done really well, and I thought it was a really unique take, especially the way it was done with the butterflies. I really wanted a little bit more from the butterflies, but otherwise it was really good. I really enjoyed it, loved it, and I gave it 4 stars. And I would definitely read more from this author. So this is another one that was sent to me from the author, and that was Where Dreams Are Entombed by Chase Will. This ended up being a 4-star. This is a pretty short book. It's 148 pages. This follows Tommy, and Tommy is trying to become a rock star. He has a son and his ex-wife back home, but he's kind of separated from them to pursue his rock star dream. He's determined to make it. He's very determined, almost desperate. One day he gets this really weird proposition to become an artist assistant, but it's very unorthodox and very weird. It's a really weird job. At first he's like, I don't know about this, but he's offered a pretty good amount of money to do it. And even though the red flags are there, he still does it for money because he's that desperate and he's that just determined. It's kind of a lesson of what people would do for money. How far will you go for money, and how far will you go for your dreams, and also how far people would go for their art. There's this person, the creator, who is the artist, and that person is just brutal, and I mean just ruthless. There's body horror in this. There are parts of this that had my heart racing. I couldn't put it down. You really feel for Tommy, and you really want him to make it, and you really push for him. This was very well written. The pacing was really good. Even though it was 148 pages, a lot happened in these 148 pages. It was definitely dark. It was disturbing. It was gross at times, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Next week's video, I think, is going to be a book shopping video. I went to Barnes & Noble and I went to Half Price Books, and I got a lot of really cool stuff, and I can't wait to show you guys. So yeah, I'll see you next Friday. Bye for now.